Good morning, everybody. I'm Hannah Parry Wilson. I'm the Citizen Science Coordinator for the Chilterns Chalk Streams project, but I'm working primarily on the River Chess as part of the Smarter Water Catchment Initiative. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about people engagement and the importance of feedback. So I've brought up this slide initially. Lots of pictures of very happy people, which is always a good sign. And the reason I've brought this up is because the first thing I want to highlight, and this is a point that I want to emphasize, but it will probably sound really obvious, is that when we are recruiting for citizen science, when we're bringing people into the project, the one thing we need to ultimately remember is that these are individuals. They're individuals with their own wants and their own needs, and therefore we have to consider all citizen science as a two-way relationship. So, of course, I've created this graphic just to give you a bit of a kind of a basic structure for the idea here. Say as an organisation, we're looking for a new riverfly monitor in Cheshire, which, by the way, we are, if anybody is interested. That citizen scientists coming into the project, they may be happy to help us with the activities that we are in need of new people for, but of course they will have a whole suite of different needs themselves that they might not even know initially, and things that they want to get out of being part of a citizen science program. So, for example, they're going to want to meet like-minded people as part of a community. They'll want to learn more about their environment and about their new area, the area that they live in. They might want to see parts of the new area, parts of the local area that they might not have visited before because of landowner permissions that we might have. And of course, they're going to want to get outdoors more and gain new skills, improve health and well-being. I mean, this is a small section, that the list could be a lot broader than this, but we need to consider when we're setting up citizen science, we're not just bringing somebody in to give us more data. We need to obviously try to appeal to all these different parameters that they might have, and by doing so we'll have a much better and engaged citizen science community. So training is one way, of course, that we do engage our citizen scientists, and this can be a really key part of bringing new citizen scientists into the project, and obviously maintaining motivation ongoing. So of course, most methods, as you'll know with citizen science, do require training. That can come in many different forms, but the one thing I will suggest is that in-person training can be the absolute best way to engage with new citizen scientists. And that does sound like an obvious, but a lot of our training these days can be done online due to ease of access. If you can get people engaged in person, it's a fantastic way to get to know them better, and it allows those new citizen scientists a chance to actually engage with their new community as well. So on top of that, post-training support is really, really essential. Otherwise, someone can come in, they can have a day's training, it can be all great and fantastic, and then they feel a little bit left out the loop or isolated. So the one thing I ultimately try to do immediately after any training is send out an email. I like to attach pictures from the day. Everybody here will know that I'm one of those people that always has a camera around. I like to take lots of pictures of events that we run and survey days and so on. But it's a nice reminder of the fantastic chances that we've had, and you'll see lots of these pictures up on people's slides today that I have a habit of taking. So I do think it's quite key and quite important to make sure you follow up. It's also important to make sure that within that email you are posting links to things of importance, things of interest, other groups that might be of interest as well. Make sure that when you've talked to people on that training day, that you have included questions that they might have asked you that you couldn't answer. It really makes sure that those citizen scientists know that they've been heard, they've been listened to, and they've been understood. So that's just a one-step part of it, but following on from that training, of course, even if you've got a method that's very easy to continue with independently, or I say independently, but in small groups or pairs, the one thing I would really recommend is ensuring that you do organise survey days beyond that point. It's hosted by yourself as a key citizen science coordinator, so that you do get those individuals back together and they start to build on that community, because relationships, as we all know as adults, do take time. That network takes time and takes a lot of care in building. So I think it's really important that you ensure that you do continue to host these survey days for a certain amount of time until people do start to connect better. So this is an example with modular river survey. So if you're not familiar with modular river survey, it's a national citizen science method that looks at river habitat quality using an assessment method. It's a national citizen science method, but there is a professional version of it as well that's used in industry. And what we do with Modular River Survey, it does include a one-day training, which includes both presentations and riverbank field session. So anybody attending this would then go on with myself. They'd have an email follow-up afterwards to engage them and ensure that everything that they'd learned and picked up was followed up with an email at that point. And then from there, we would host citizen science survey days with pre-arranged maps. So I would make sure that I've done site recce's and so on, so that I have an idea of exactly where we want monitored, and I would provide these maps on an organised survey day that I would host, and everybody would go out and collect that data. So in doing so, that survey day it's a lot easier for people to follow if they know exactly what they're doing, and you as an individual can go around and help everybody in conducting their surveys if they're quite new to the process as well. It's obviously great if you're pairing people up to do these surveys that you have somebody a little bit more experienced with somebody a little bit newer, and it really helps that process as they do expand their skills. From that, of course, you can give further training to those that are really experienced and really enjoy the method. So we have, for example, very recently trained one of our Modular River Survey, I'll refer to it as morph from this point forward. We've trained somebody as a morph trainer, so he can actually train others, and of course he can now help with our quality assurance on our data as well as a data approver. So that's a fantastic way of making sure the community here on the Chess actually has somebody dedicated to coordinate Modular River Survey on the ground, somebody who can continue and that engagement going forward, because of course my time is also split across the Chilterns. It's not just here on the River Chess, and we need to make sure that going forward this method can be rolled out to other areas. So having somebody locally for me that can help with morph on the ground is a fantastic thing for the Chess going forward, and I can be elsewhere going from there as well. Another example is noses. So for those of you wondering, this is actually named Nutrient Ongoing Scrutiny Evaluation Surveys. It was named by a citizen scientist, and we quite liked it because I guess if you are downstream of a sewage treatment works, and it can get a little bit whiffy on occasions, and of course then you're likely to have an increase in nutrients as a result. So we went with noses because it is a survey looking at phosphates and nitrates, nutrients in the water, not that they are whiffy in general. But anyway, I digress. So noses is a method that we've designed as for citizen science. Basically, what we have done is organised public survey days, so survey days that anyone can attend, as broad as you like. We've organised them for anyone to come in, and the reason that they don't need any prior training is because we give it on the day. So what we will do is bring people into either a venue or a gazebo in a field, is what we've done previously, which is always fun. We bring everybody in, we have a chat about the nutrients, why they can be problematic for rivers, talk about why we're specifically at that site and why we're surveying that location, and then how we're going to go about it. We do a demonstration of the method as well. So once we've done a demonstration, we have pre-selected sites that people will sample from. We explain to them why they'll go off and survey and collect from those sites. We provide them with all the PPE they could need, because they will need nitrile gloves for their hands. They'll obviously need a dipper stick to collect the sample and some sampling bottles. We tell them how to go about it. We give them an instruction sheet to take away with them. They go and collect them. They bring them back to our venue or our gazebo, and then we have a portable colorimeter kit. If anybody's interested, please do come and ask me later, or we've got more details on our website about noses and what it involves, including a big report with all the methodologies. And we actually process the samples there on the site, so they can get the results, usually 10 minutes per sample, which is really fantastic. It creates a talking point, and then whilst everybody's waiting for their samples to be processed, they can be chatting and getting to know each other over a tea and biscuits, which we do enjoy, like a bit of biscuits during fieldwork. So it's a nice way, again, not just on engagement, but it brings brand new people into the project, and again, it allows them to meet the community. And what I will say is we've had some exceptional individuals join us as part of our noses methodology, who've then gone on to train in various other methods. So the lady in the bottom picture on this slide, Alicia, she actually joined us at that survey day, our very first noses survey day, and she has since trained as a Modular River Survey a citizen scientist, and she's also then very recently taken up river fly as a trained river fly surveyor with a new site in Chesham. So yeah, that's just one example of many in terms of how noses can be a great way of bringing people into the project if you need or would like to engage further. So when we talk about skills enhancement, I think it's also quite important to showcase the engagement across the different activities that we've got. So there's a lot of different things we're involved in that I won't be talking about everything today, but we have got posters all around the room if you're interested in these various different methods. Now we have 41 registered active citizen scientists working on river chess work. So those 41 don't include tracking the impact, which of course is catchment wide, and it's not something I directly lead myself. That's led by Nick Mariner of the Chilterns National Landscape Team. But if we are looking at within the chess catchment itself, those who are trained in the different methods, of course, you can see tracking the impact does take the lead. There are obviously 3 different methods as part of tracking the impact, including breeding bird surveys, butterfly surveys, and national plant monitoring schemes. So we'll kind of consider that slightly separate. But if we do look at those skills, and for those who've actually engaged with the different activities, noses does come out in front. We've now run 9 survey days for noses to date, and of course engaged 55 people. A very small proportion of those, of course, have gone on to do additional surveys elsewhere, or might have been existing citizen scientists anyway. But it really does showcase how we can create more awareness about river health by doing a method that is available to all, not just something that does require training up front, which can be quite intimidating for some people coming into the project. And of course, then you can see the variety of different activities. So modular river survey, we now have 29 trained volunteers in the chess. So this is all just chess based, and as part of what we've been since our involvement as well. Riverfly, of course, has many more citizen scientists engaged over the years, but of course this is just during our involvement since Smarter Water Catchment has been providing support and funding to all the different methods. Now, of course, we highlight that we've got lots of different methods that people are trained in. The one thing that's key to remember is that we've also got those 41 individuals that are regular citizen scientists with us. They tend to be interested in quite a lot of different things. So you go, as I mentioned about Alicia, for example, how she started off with modular. She started off with noses. They went on to help us with modular river, same with noses. So they do gain. Citizen scientists can gain skills in lots of different things because it creates more interest. Of course, some people like to just do the same thing because it's where they've got a particular interest. But generally speaking, it's more challenging and more interesting to engage in more broader activities, and there's lots more that citizen scientists generally enjoy getting involved in. Like Mark, for example, you could see he was involved in quite a lot of different things. Same for Holly with mud spotter and with flow monitoring and emerging contaminants. So actually what we have here on the chess is over 80% of our registered chess citizen scientists trained in over 2 methods. And again, the lists that you can see here, so the total number of citizen scientists on the y-axis, and you've got a total number of methods trained. That doesn't include tracking the impact, so some of these are trained in more than 8, would you believe? But it does really just go to show that engagement and retention of citizen scientists is so important because they can be superb additions to the local community, but also to the data that you're collecting. You can then obviously you're going to be training those that you can trust will provide you with excellent data. So creating a community, of course, is of key importance, and I've kind of highlighted in doing this in 2 different ways. If we look at surveying, for example, let's start with that. So we talked about group survey days following training, where you're bringing people back together and they're obviously meeting, they're improving their skills that they might have learned through a training day. And from that, you might actually pick out a couple of individuals who really engage with a particular method and they want to engage further. They want further responsibilities, either as part of that method or a bit more broader. They might be interested in data analysis, they might be interested in helping with other things that might be of use to yourselves and as an organisation. And from that, of course, if they do engage with further training, they can help you sort of coordinate particular activities so that you don't have to be present for every single group survey day. They could actually organise that themselves. And as I mentioned with our Morph trained trainer for the chess now, he has helped us in coordinating survey days and ongoing surveys that I would say are independent, but we're talking about independent in pairs or small groups. So for us, that's creating a community through the surveying side of things, and that's very helpful for us. For me in particular, as I, going forward, can't just base my entire time for the chess. I have to be elsewhere throughout the Chilterns, so it's very useful to know we've got a group that can actively continue that work that we've started, and they know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how. It's perfect for us. Of course, creating a community can also come in the form of engagement, and that can be very helpful depending on your individuals. As I say, individuals all have different interests and different needs. So we've done a lot of social events. We either do them monthly or bi-monthly. And these involve guided walks, interactive sessions. I'll talk a little bit more detail about this on the next slide. We've done some site visits to the sewage treatment works. We've had 2 barbecues now, and we do some presentation evenings in regards to our results. I've put competitions, but I think we've only done one, but I think we're planning more, possibly, we'll see. Workshops, which I will go into a little bit more detail on, and we've also got our citizen science portal and monthly newsletter, which I'll touch on as well. So when it comes to social events, we've done a variety of them, and this is again to bring people together. And the reason I say that I think personally social events are so important is that you've got individuals working in completely different methods, different parts of the chess. They never get to see each other. You've even got individuals who are doing data analysis, and they will be stuck behind a computer at home. They won't meet anybody who's actually involved in the collecting of the data that they're analysing. So having social events brings people together to meet, to chat. We tend to do, we bring an educational speaker in to talk about a topic of interest, and it doesn't have to necessarily be related. We've had talks about the archaeology of the chest. We've had talks about, we have had river restoration. We've also had water vole monitoring. We've had, trying to think off the top of my head, all sorts of different activities. We had about access throughout the Chilterns as well, in terms of diversifying, the communities throughout the Chilterns. So there's lots of things we've done, and we've even had interactive sessions. We brought in an organisation to do smartphone photography class last July. That was great fun, and we've now run 2 barbecue events just as a thank you. Nothing intended from that, but we ran barbecues in 2023 and 24 just 2 weeks ago. More recently, as you can see from the graph on the bottom right hand side, there are guided walks, which are shown in orange. Those have been quite popular. So I think we'll probably be going forward and doing quite a lot more of those, especially since they've been, we had an orchid walk and we had an ancient trees walk. So yes, they've been great to add to our programme. And just to kind of highlight some of our bigger events, I mentioned that we've done barbecues and presentation evenings. So our first presentation evening had about 31 attendees back in November 22. We ran our first barbecue in September 23 with about 75 people. But of course, this involved a lot of different organisations attending. We had live music at our barbecue last year and this year again. We had sponsorship from local organisations in terms of food and drinks and such, and it was great to just bring together not just the citizen scientists this time, but actually bring the landowners in, our contracted organisations, anybody we had connections with in terms of citizen science. They got a chance to network, chat with each other, and talk about looking at things from a variety of different angles. So it's been superb. I'll have to add this event to this list at some point. I mentioned workshops. I haven't got long to wrap this up. I've only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to try as much as I can to get as much as I can in. So if you're interested, there is a poster on emerging chemicals of concern at the back of the room. But in terms of workshops, what we've actually done with the emerging contaminants example, we were looking at chemicals that are not regulated by the Water Framework Directive, but they are on an EU watch list. And what we did is we collected samples every month between July and June 2023. The results were produced in a report that was shared publicly just this spring. And since that, we've held personally ourselves 2 workshops with the citizen scientists who collected those samples to actually talk about the results, make sure that we were making the very research heavy report a bit more understandable, because chemicals can be quite complicated just to talk about. And actually from that, we had 2 outputs. We have had the data plotted by a citizen scientist. You can see that at the bottom of the poster if you go and have a little look at it after this. And of course, we've then made a plan with those citizen scientists. They suggested, they thought it would be a great idea to disseminate some educational leaflets to the local community about the domestic use of chemicals in the home that could be contributing to this. So, for example, insecticides, aphid killers, for example, are really impacting the river health. So that was something we thought we could approach and tie in some use of phosphates in terms of the noses work that we've done as well. And these can be things that we put in local libraries, etc. And our steering group, as we like to refer to them now, are helping us with that after they collected the samples originally. So that's been a great way of engaging those citizen scientists, and of course providing them both with feedback, but also an opportunity to really put into our future mitigation efforts as well. I'm going well over my time, so I'm going to be trying quite quick, but I did say the importance of feedback. So I'm not going to talk about in person and about reports in terms of feedback. I think they're quite self-explanatory, but I do want to touch on our portal and our e-newsletter, because these are something that we've designed ourselves and have been absolutely essential in helping us to feedback in a variety of different ways, depending on how people like to receive their information. So our citizen science portal was created and designed in 2023. It's basically an online part of our website that any citizen scientist with us can log into. They get a login details, and it allows them to access anything they might need in terms of citizen science activities they're involved in. So they can access documents, survey guides, survey sheets, maps, risk assessments, etc. Anything they can need, they can find in one place. They can find links to where they need to upload their data. If it's not a spreadsheet, it might be a mapping system like Cartograph, for example. Everything they need in there, and they can chat to each other. So they, avoiding all issues with GDPR, they can actually chat to each other to be proactive in terms of organising surveys, etc. So for us, that was really helpful, because we don't have to go to and fro with emails asking for permissions, written permissions to be able to share contact details. Everybody can just get in contact with each other through the activity they're all involved in. And you can, like I say, in the dashboard, have a little look at a map and see where there might be gaps in data that we need help filling. But we have got some new and improved functions coming this year. This is the first time I've been able to share this information, so it's really exciting. We're actually creating what's called a PWA, so it's not quite an app, but it works in exactly the same way. So we'll have push notifications that can go to a little app icon on a smartphone or a tablet. So for when anybody's having a conversation through one of the discussion boards, you can be notified immediately when somebody responds to your comment or to any comment on that particular board. We will have the map embedded to our main website, so you can see where all of our activities are spatially spread out across the chess, and there'll be lots of updates to the comments thread. We've even got a gallery, which I'm really excited about. It means you can upload images, and we can have photography competitions and all sorts. It's going to be so much fun to have that there. And of course there'll be a help section as well with an embedded video to guide people through the use of this, because we understand technology can be difficult to adopt for everybody, especially when there's so many different ways of using softwares and things these days. So we want to make sure that everything anybody needs in terms of citizen science for the chess, this is all available to them, and we hope that this is a model that other groups would be interested in hosting themselves going forward, and we may extend this out to other rivers in the Chilterns going forward as well. Finally, the e-newsletter. We started this in January 2023. We send it out monthly. It covers citizen science results, has updates in it, events, training, anything that you can think of we have. It can be quite extensive sometimes because we're very busy as a citizen science programme here in the Chess, but it's really great just to acknowledge things that are going on, even if we don't have results. So we might, for example, just feedback to people that we acknowledge they went out and did more surveys last week, and we chuck a picture in to say thank you very much for your efforts going out and doing so. Since we started in January 2023, we now have 137 subscribers. As you can see from the plot down below, of course, we're decreasing the open rate, but of course it will decrease for the more people that sign up to this. And yeah, I think if we can increase that to 150 after today, that would be superb. If you're interested in subscribing, do have a look at a post that we got on the side here with a QR code, or you can just refer to our Smarter Water Catchment website, and on the Citizen Science page you can sign up below or see previous examples of our newsletters as well. Yes, so that's everything. Oh, sorry, no, I didn't finish there. Demographics. So this is a really key thing. What we do know about our e-newsletter is we have sort of a higher split of female to male of what we do know, but the age range is something I wanted to pull out on. So we have obviously got a sort of a weighted demographic towards the 65 plus age group in terms of the e-newsletter, and that tends to reflect itself in our citizen science demographics as well. For our citizen scientists, the majority of those are admittedly retired because people have more time available. And one thing I really wanted to do that we weren't successful in doing as part of this project was diversifying our citizen science. And it's something we didn't manage to achieve because, for one thing, our monitoring was restricted to ages 18 plus, but of course most of our citizen scientists were already part of local organisations in terms of, let's say, Chesham Environmental Group or River Chess Association or the Chilterns Society. A lot of people proactively approached us, and because of the capacity that I had time-wise and resources, I wasn't able to actually look into further diversification, whether in terms of age ranges or in terms of ethnicities or in terms of disabilities as well. I really wanted to broaden out what we were doing and what we were able to offer, because a lot of people want to engage, and it is important to make sure that you do. So my advice to anybody who's planning a citizen science program would be to absolutely plan in diversifying citizen science from day one. Now, there's a poster. I was part of a research study that was conducted by our colleagues in the Chalk Cherries and Chairs project as part of the Chilterns National Landscape. You can see the poster on the side. Please do. It's a fantastic research study, and it basically looked into how we can diversify citizen science in the Chilterns. So please do go and have a little look at that on the side. And my final notes, because I've run over massively on my time, I do apologise. Every little counts. Now, what you can see here, unfortunately, Gary didn't get his thank you card at our barbecue last year. I don't know why it didn't get it, but I promise you he got one this year. And this is a card that I personally hand wrote to every single citizen scientist to thank them for their individual activities. I listed all the activities that they did, all 40. I think actually I wrote about 55 different cards last year, and all of our team hand signed them. And I think that in itself, it's important to make sure that your citizen scientists understand that their efforts are appreciated. Of course, they're interested in being involved. Of course, they want to help, not just with monitoring, but with improving and conserving their local environment. But I think it's key that you remember that these are, as I say, individuals that are giving up their free time to help. So anything that you can do just to say thank you will be taken and will be appreciated. So whilst we're here and whilst we do have some of our chess citizen scientists in the room, I personally want to say a huge thank you to all the effort that you put in. I know I ask a lot of you. I mean, personally, the ones in the room, I ask a lot of you because I've asked you to be here to either present today or to help us this afternoon with our demonstrations down on Cheshire Moor. So yeah, can't thank you enough. I'll continue to thank you right up until the end of the project and beyond. But yes, that's everything I wanted to say today. If anybody's got any questions, do come and find me.